Hello everyone, welcome back to Youth Diaries. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Faith Maita, and here on Youth Diaries we talk about everything that literally concerns the youths. So today I have invited Chido, who is a midwife. She has been here with us before and she educated us women on the topic feminine hygiene. So if you haven't watched the video, click it, it's in the description box below. So I came up with this topic. Today we're actually going to be talking about sex, pregnancy, abortion, keeping a child, infections, and so on. So I came up with this topic because a lot of people think abstinence is the best thing to do to avoid any of this from happening, of which is true. That is the safest thing to do to avoid all of this from happening. But let's face the facts, guys. We all get hormonal and you just feel like having sex at times. So today we're going to be talking about things that we can do to keep these things from happening, although you engage yourself in sexual activities. And yeah, so if you're interested, keep watching. And before we get started, I would love to give a lot of thanks to the people that are supporting this channel. Shout out to you guys and so much love for you. And for those that haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, join the family. We post every week and this channel is lit. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so Chido, welcome back to Youth Diaries. You were here before and you talked to us about women hygiene.
Yes.
All right. So the first thing that we want to talk about is virginity. What advice would you give to a girl who's still a virgin but wants to engage in sexual activity? What can they expect?
First thing that I will explain is virginity.
Mm-hmm.
That to define it, that virginity is whereby there's no definite definition, but mm-hmm. It's when a girl has never engaged in vaginal penetration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the virginity that I think we are going to talk about here.
Yes.
So, and maybe before I go in detail about what advice I would give, I'll just explain that virginity mostly, we believe that it's determined by kubuda ropa, when by bleeding when one has the first sexual encounter, which is caused by when our vaginal opening there is a sheet which covers it. It's a very thin membrane, just like a tissue paper, which is so thin. It will be covering the vaginal opening. But at times it's not completely covering. At times there is a small slit to allow like blood to come out. But it's not every girl, or it's not every woman that has it. It's just like any other body parts. Like maybe you can just talk of, like, I don't know, but it's not every woman who has it. Even though as ambo indulge into sexual activities. So what I can tell a woman who wants to, a girl or a lady that wants to engage in sexual activity is she has to prepare herself. That is she physically prepared to do that? Is she emotionally prepared to do that? Is she psychologically prepared to do that? So what I mean is, for one to engage into first sexual encounter, it takes someone that you love. It takes someone, and it takes you that physically are you prepared, because most of the times you have your first sexual encounter, mostly it's just by chance, or you haven't prepared yourself. Mostly the sexual encounter will be very painful. It will be, it's actually something that will leave you regretting why you've done it. But if it's someone, if you've prepared yourself psychologically and emotionally, like when I'm talking of emotional, is someone that you love, someone whom you've prepared, that I'm prepared to lose my virginity to this person. So I really think this is some of the things that we really have to consider, even the physical, that even the environment, that am I prepared to lose my virginity on such an environment? There are a lot of things to consider: physical, emotional, environment, psychological. Even so much that if say you have lost it, do you have the right people to talk to tell about your worries, your concerns, and everything? If you truly have the right supporting people, then it's fine. when you can do it, if even your age, you also have to consider that, is it a good decision that I'm doing? So at times, if most of the answers are no, then it means you're not prepared to indulge yourself into sexual activity.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay, so then my next question is pregnancy / menstrual cycle. When we look at most teenagers or even my adults, we see that some of them have irregular menstrual cycles. What could cause something like that?
Okay, on this one, Faith, if you can allow me maybe just 2 minutes before or maybe less before I answer this, to explain to women what we mean when we're saying menstrual cycle.
Yes.
How it operates. Menstruation is something that comes naturally. Sorry, I might be biased a bit because I'm a Christian, so I'm going to talk it on my Christian. I'm going to include God in some things that I'm going to say. When God was creating a woman, He created us with a uterus, and the main purpose of this uterus is for conception. Kureva kuti ndezvekuberekesa mwana chibereko, the science calls chibereko, it means it's more of on the conception side. So this menstruation, whatever that the phases of menstruation that we go through, we're actually preparing ourselves to get pregnant. So every month we have our menses. It means that we did not receive a sperm to fertilize the egg, because the whole thing of menstruation is in preparation to receive a fertilized egg. So what I can just say is, genetic and there are hormones. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties of how these hormones work, but I'm just going to explain a bit about what happens, because most of the normal cycles that I know are 28-day cycles. Though others can go to 31-day cycle, others can go to 30, or others can go even to more, I don't know. But now the normal thing is, on your first day of menstruation, that's day 1, or when you start your menses, that's day 1, and to day 5, mostly it takes up to 8 days. Most of the menstrual cycles, a person can go for menstruation up to 8 days. So in this one, it's because there is a major hormone in India, Sekira. This hormone is called estrogen, which is called a feel-good hormone. When you have that hormone, it's a feel-good hormone, which really makes us feel good. So that moment when this hormone drops so much, that's when we have our menses. No wonder you hear people saying, it's because that hormone is very, very low. So what happens is, after that, we talk of the day 14. These hormones, the estrogen, it tries to rise because fertilization. So this hormone will rise so much, and it's day 14. Around day 14, this hormone is at its peak, and you as a woman, you're very happy. You are so vibrant. You are, you are in a good. You feel good about yourself. Even those sexual feelings, you actually have them. No wonder that, and because of this hormone, that's where the ovum is released. So most likely they know these things, that the difficult part about this is that moment that estrogen is high is the moment that you're ovulating. So if you have sex during those days, that's when you're most likely to get pregnant. And the boy has to so it's just 3-4 days of that phase, but this is a very dangerous stage of it. So that is when most likely pregnancy can take place. So what I can tell you is sorry, okay, it's okay, you can ask.
Oh, I wanted to ask that, can one still get pregnant after ovulating?
Yes, what happened? Okay, this is what I wanted to explain. That when you ovulate, there are signs to tell you that you are almost ovulating. It depends, because we are saying this estrogen is at peak, and now this estrogen is at peak. You can have some tingling of the breast. You can have this vaginal discharge, the normal vaginal discharge. It's so thin, because we say menstruation is just preparation according to how so this mucus here, this vaginal fluid is very thin, and so that it allows the sperm to swim kuti iende because tikuda kuti according to Mwari panoda kuti paitike fertilization. So and this ovum parinoreliswa, it stays from 12 to 24 hours. Yes. So at times one gonna talk up to 48 hours, but the most time that it stays alive is 12 to 48 hours. But what happens is, say you for example, a girl sleeps with this boy on day 12. Day 12 outside particular ovulation, is it? Yes. So you have sex at day 12. The male sperm can stay for 3 to 5 days alive inside the uterus. So that for example, you can have sex today, and because we've had unprotected sex, his sperm in a uterus now, it can live from 3 days to 5 days from us. So even if I ovulate 3 days later, say Friday, if I ovulate on Friday, I can still get pregnant because the ovulator, whilst they are still a live sperm inside me.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So what happens is, so that's why you say that very period before like ovulation and after ovulation is very difficult because you don't really know when are you ovulating, but there are some signs and symptoms that probably you are almost or you're just after your ovulation. So as long as there is a live sperm inside your reproductive system, then you are about to get pregnant.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And is it actually possible to still have your monthly periods whilst you're pregnant?
Not really. What can happen is when you I just wanted to let me just finish off a bit about how the menstrual cycle works. So that by day 14 can release for ovum, and this ovum we say arina fertilized, but say there is no sperm, there is no sex that has happened. This ovum, because tataroti panokurezeswa pano ino ovum iberia anditi rakuchiproduce kana pasina kuitika fertilization rikutanga kuproduce inonzi imwe another hormone which is called progesterone. That's that egg parikufamba richida kuuya kuchibereko, it's producing another hormone which is progesterone. So there's a day that this progesterone and inoriswa yakawanda, and this progesterone pairi kuriliswa is also acting irinoshanda pachibereko kuprepare chibereko kuti chibuilde futi mamwe mamuscles, chibuilde futi environment yokuti chitambire mwana. But now that pashaika sperm, pashaika anything, apana cha fertilizer, this is area rino pane pekuti mama hormones esewa estrogen neprogesterone zvinodzika futi zvese completely. Kana zvadzika completely ndopaive kuti it's just few days before menstruation, you start to have mood disorder, mood swings, depression, anxiety. It's because hormones too are proper at the same time. So now that kind of egg right, progesterone inoramba yakwira then ndopanozoitika breakdown yechibereko yeuterus lining mwakatenderedza chibereko muyame munotanga kusheda off. Kana makusheda off rakubuda raro handiti saka pariya redzongwa rinenge rine zvimasediments zvemucus, thin mucus at times. Saka tonoti ropa rekumwedzi rinorera like rinoita kakurera is because of the mucus which is also lining the uterus. And also that ovum kazaikaika kasina kufertilizwa kanowanika futi imomo, which brings a point that you can still have menstruation even if you did not ovulate.
All right.
Yes. So basically that's what I can say about the menstrual cycle. So ndakanga rongovunza about pregnancy, which can a person have periods when she's pregnant? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. No, now what happens is, as we have said, that this ovum has come from the ovaries. It has swum through the tubes to the uterus, and it was ready for fertilization. At times, maybe fertilization can even happen whilst it's in the tubes, whilst it's even out in the ovum, as long as the sperm can swim through there. Now that under normal circumstances, as we have said, that progesterone that is being released, progesterone iri kuproducwa nekazai kakanditika iri kunogadzira chibereko chiya kuti chitambire zai rafertilize. What I'm saying is when this ovum is fertilized, when this ovum is fertilized, it will find its way to the uterus. Now that it has been fertilized, this ovum, the fertilized ovum, we can call it a zygote. It goes into the uterus lining and embeds itself in the uterus lining. When it embeds in the uterus lining, it's already now in the process of making a child. So there could be some slight bleeding because it's an egg which is trying it actually forms some spikes that will go in, so that as it tries to embed into the uterus lining, it's forming some spikes that goes and what is it? And damage the blood vessels as it's trying to get inside the uterus lining, so that it can now start to grow as pregnant. So it goes and burrows through those blood vessels. So there could be some bleeding, but this bleeding is not menstruation. It can be spotting. It's also called implantational bleeding, because it's this fertilized egg that is implanting in the uterus lining. So it's called implantational bleeding. Probably, obviously, even if you have a break test, it will be saying positive. But you'll be bleeding. So this bleeding can take even up to 3-4 days, which are also the normal menstruation days that you can have. But now you find yourself doing those spotting at times because of the hormones. Maybe the next month again, during your period, you have that slightly spotting. It's because it's still that implantational process that is taking place. And even if you go to scan, there is actually a heartbeat to show that it's not an abortion, but it's actually that the implantation that is taking place.
All right.
Yes. So basically, we can say that you cannot have your menstruation, your real menstrual menses when you're pregnant, but it can be implantational bleeding. At times, it can maybe 2 months, but it will eventually stop if the pregnancy carries on.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
And what about for the women that see this as menstrual blood? What are the early symptoms of pregnancy? Because when someone does not know, cannot tell the difference between period blood and what is it called again?
Implantational bleeding.
And implantational bleeding. What are the early symptoms of this early pregnancy?
Yes, okay. As we have said, that the more what happens when a fertilized egg, when an egg is fertilized, these hormones, they are now much produced, so that these hormones will maintain the pregnancy. Okay, so because of these hormones, that moment when the pregnancy starts, the hormones, they are now being produced. So these hormones, the estrogen also in progesterone, they are now being produced. There could be some breast tenderness or tingling sensation of the breast. At times, even breast enlargement. Some people can but with these signs and symptoms, they differ from one person to the other. But someone can have the breast tenderness. Even others can actually feel that my breasts, they are growing. If you are very particular about your breast size, you can actually feel that even in 2 weeks there is a noticeable change on your breast size, because these hormones, they mainly act on the breast, on the hips, on the abdomen and everything. And also because this pregnancy is there is also hormones that are being produced. The other hormone is called human chorionic gonadotrophin, that's the HCG hormone. This is the same hormone that we get when you test for a pregnancy test. If you see the pregnancy test, they are written HCG. It's a human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone, one of the first hormones that are produced. So because of these hormones that are coming, you can get nausea. At times you can even go vomiting, and these hormones, they might get you very tired. And the other early symptom, we say this pregnancy, at times the conception probably is on the day 14 or day 15. So most likely on day 28, when you're supposed to get your menses, at times you don't even see it. But at times at times it comes, but like what I say, that it could be already implantational bleeding. It's the zygote that is already trying to implant it in there. So most likely these are the most signs and symptoms, but the other person, like I personally, my first sign, my first symptom when I'm pregnant is backache. Even before I do a pregnancy test, there's this certain backache that I know is because of the nerves that are attached on the uterus. So with that, those uterus changes, they affect those nerve endings that radiate to the back. So it just depends with from person to person, but mostly the changes are noticed on the breast, tingling sensation, and nausea, vomiting, and also not having menses. And others, even that irritability, the person is just, at times they're just so tired, you just don't want to do anything, it's because of the hormonal changes that are going on. And also a preg test also is another sign that shows that you're pregnant.
Okay. And do you think we should rely on pregnancy tests from over the counter, or do you think it's advisable to actually go to the doctor to get tested?
Okay, now on this one, honestly speaking, is it's more or less the same, because the first sign of pregnancy is the hormones. Like what I tell you, the hormonal changes are the ones that cause every change that you feel when you're pregnant. So because of these hormones, the human called HCG hormone is readily available in urine, maybe the 5 days after conception. So it's a very reliable. It's a very reliable, very reliable sign of you being pregnant. Because even if you go to the doctor, the first thing that the doctor is going to do is get a preg test for you. And the same, maybe you might just use a different manufacturer, but mostly it's the urine preg test, because they don't just go for the blood preg test, because the blood preg test, they take long and they're very costly. So mostly the first one they do is this normal the normal pregnancy test. So it's advisable that you just take that normal preg test if you suspect that you're pregnant.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, and what I notice is that nowadays a lot of young girls are falling pregnant, and then they don't notice, but then notice a few months later, maybe in the 3rd month of the pregnancy or something like that, and then they tend to take home remedies or the abortion pill that is not administered by the doctor, and that is actually illegal. What are the dangers of removing pregnancy in this way?
Okay, you know what, Faith? On this one, this is it's a sensitive topic, because I know one of the girls that I was very close to. She actually did it, and unfortunately, she passed away. What happens is, with pregnancy, there are some there are some policies, some laws regarding abortion in our country, in Zimbabwe. And as we speak right now, abortion is not allowed, unless in circumstances, for example, a person has been raped, or maybe there is the incest, whereby a brother sleeps with a brother, or raped, also those, and it actually has to go through the courts, through the magistrate, until the magistrate or the judge rules that this pregnancy should be terminated. It is not done by just any other doctor. So what I can just tell you is, the best thing for those girls that have already indulged in sex is to do family planning. And she decides to do the illegal way of getting rid of the pregnancy. One thing that I can say is, in as much as I don't want to say it, but me as a health professional, as a health profession, me as a nurse, as a midwife, I would encourage you that whatever these ladies that they will do to get rid, not that I'm promoting this, but they should go for whatever. If say the pregnancy, they've aborted it, they should always go for post-abortal care. Post-abortal care is done in most of the clinics that are there, because what kills, what is killing people, what is killing women is when they decide to do it say, for example, they decided to get rid of the pregnancy, they go, which is not advised at all. We don't. There are so many support systems that are there to girls who get pregnant, and how much you can cope with those things. But see, something happens, they go for abortion and they just stay. They don't go for post-abortion. Okay, this person gets sepsis, she dies. So what I'm saying here is, say a patient, like your friend comes, she confides in you that she had an abortion and she doesn't know what to do. It's best that she goes to the clinic. In as much as I do.
Hello?
They take care of the uterus, they clean, and to make sure that all retain products of conception, because at times when you do such abortions, other things come off, and there are some other things that remain in the uterus which will cause this patient to have infection and death at times. Even infection, or maybe she might even lose the uterus forever after it has been infected. So there's this post-abortal care she has to go for, and this is mostly in other hospitals and other clinics, like what is this name? I forgot the name of the clinics, but they offer such services for post-abortal care, so that you know that you are safe, and rather than doing things and you just stay at home, you die or you get infection, the uterus is removed, yet you're only 18 or you're only 19 or 20, yet you still want to get someone, you still want to settle, you still want to have family. So they should also have post-abortal care. If you go on family planning, it means that you are preventing yourself from an unwanted pregnancy. Point number 2, in family planning, it's even secondary. The primary, my major advice is correct and consistent use of condoms. So that is the 3 C's that we always talk of: correct and consistent use of condoms. Because when you use condoms, number 1, you prevent yourself from unwanted pregnancies, you prevent yourself from STIs, and you prevent yourself from what else? Yeah, so mostly STIs and unwanted pregnancies. Now that, okay, you have failed to do the correct and consistent use of condom, we now talk of the family planning methods. Now that you know that we have started with this thing of unprotected sex, what I can encourage youth is that please go on family planning methods. And please, if you feel that you're someone who really loves unprotected sex, there's some things that we can talk of someone who has never done it and someone who's already done it. So in this incident, I'm talking of someone who has already indulged in sex and someone who knows that there are actually some people who say, I don't like condoms. Even your partner might say, you don't like condoms. But you can use that pre-exposure prophylaxis that we talked of yesterday, whereby you go on prevention antiretroviral drugs so that you don't contract HIV, and you also go on family planning methods that we might talk of, like there are short-term methods, there are long-term methods. The short-term methods, they comprise of the condom, the pills, the patch, withdrawal, and I think yes, these are the short-term ones, because you can go on the pills whereby you take the pills every day. You can go on the patch whereby it's just stuck on your bum, then it releases hormones to stop you from getting pregnant. So when you're done, then when you feel like you want to bathe, you can just take it off. Condoms, there are also short-term methods, and withdrawal whereby your sex partner, when he feels like he's ejaculating, he pulls off, then ejaculate outside. These are the short-term methods that we can talk of, but at least you should be on pre-exposure prophylaxis, especially because we're now talking. I cannot talk of contraception to youth without talking of HIV. Like personally, I can't do that because I'm more worried than HIV than more than pregnancy. So I cannot divorce the two: pre-exposure prophylaxis and contraceptives. Then the long-term methods, there are some intrauterine devices, that is the loop. It can go for 5 years or even up to 12 years. We have implants, the one that would call we would call them in Zimbabwe, they call them Jadel, but Jadel is just a product anyway. So in Zimbabwe, just call anything by the first brand
yes.
that we bought it. So they call it Jadel, but anyway, they are just implants. They will also have injectables like Depo-Provera. So these are some of the long-term methods that we can have. And we cannot talk of tubal ligation because they're also permanent. These are tubal ligation or hysterectomy, whereby the uterus is actually removed. These are permanent methods. But now, because we're talking of the youth, we cannot talk about those ones because they are for those people who have decided that they'll never want to have children again. So that's it. So that's what I can say on the contraceptives.
Okay.
And also there is all right, it's fine. I wanted to mention about the emergency contraceptive also, which is one of the which is very, very, very popular in youth.
Yes, that is what I was about to ask. That during this contraception methods, what if a mistake occurs? For example, the condom breaks and then the man ejaculates inside the woman. What is the first move that we as the youths can make?
Okay, like me as a person who is always who's always promoting health, I always overemphasize on the correct and consistent use of condoms. There are so many of us ladies, even our boyfriends, our husbands, who do not really know how to use a condom, because a condom is not just a matter of buying a condom, a man puts it on. There is a very, the actual way of putting it to prevent such accidents. So whenever, these are some of the things that you as youth, before you indulge in sex, mostly maybe you might agree that we'll use a condom. Yes, if you use a condom, that's fine. But do you know how to use it? Do you know the correct use of it? And is it consistent? It's not a matter of today we have sex with condom, tomorrow you're not having it. So there's actually a good way of wearing a condom. It's only that we are on video. I can't demonstrate it exactly, but there is a correct way, so to avoid such breakages, such breakages of the condom burst or the condom slipped, because for such accident to happen, it means that it's not being used in the correct manner, it's not being used in the correct way. So now that an accident has happened, there are some emergency contraceptives, which are most of the youth and even most of the people know. They are 3-day pill and 5-day pill. Now, what happens is they are all hormones, because what is happening here is it's just these pills, they are actually having a high dose of the hormones that are found in our bodies. So now, because and for this, for it to work, to use the morning after pill, you actually have to do it within 72 hours of sexual, we'll call it unprotected sex, obviously, because what you're saying is during this time you're not sure, maybe you're ovulating. As we have said, that when ovulate, it does not necessarily mean that the same day that you're ovulating is the same day that that the sperm is there. Probably the sperm is there 2 hours before, 2 days before. So what happens is these hormones, they just go and reverse the environment of the uterus, so that the uterus will not allow conception to take place, implantation to take place. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. So that's how this emergency contraceptive works. At times they might alter the thickness of the cervical mucus, that it becomes so thick that it will not allow the sperm to pass through. But now, for example, the sperm is already in the uterus and the ovum has been released. This pill just goes and alter the uterine lining, so that it's not conducive for a fertilized egg to embed in it. So this is how it works. So it should be done within the 72 hours. There's sometimes that you can take 3 days, and other that you can take in 5 days. And there's also a loop, the intrauterine device that I've talked of. It can also be used as an emergency contraceptive, but obviously you go to the doctors and they'll just insert a loop just to prevent a pregnancy emergency, because what happens is when the loop is inserted in the uterus is already assuming that there is something already, so it's not going to accept anything to embed in it, because already the loop is saying there is already it assuming that look is a child, is a fertilized ovum. So it's not going to allow any fertilized ovum to embed already. So this is how the contraceptive look, how it works. Sorry.
All right. Okay, and what about for the girls that decide to keep the pregnancy and then want to give birth to the baby? Is there any challenge that they can face as a young person who is pregnant? Does it have any effects on the body?
Yes, I can give to those girls that have fell pregnant and they decide to keep the pregnancy. One thing that I can say is, psychological support is very important for a person to keep going in whatever circumstances. You really need psychological support. So whenever you are pregnant, I really think before you even think of abortion, before you even think of getting rid of the pregnant, or before you even think of keeping the pregnancy, there should be people that you trust. There should be people that will be there for you in whatever decision that you make. Such people, at times, they might not be your parents, because mostly the parents are, maybe you can never tell those parents, your friends, your family, your sisters, your aunt, even now that in Zimbabwe, I can honestly tell you that there are more of programs, more of humanitarian organizations which caters for such situations, because these are things that are ongoing. There are like there is like Jandiri, though they deal with such issues. And they have support groups, because you actually have, for you to cope with that pregnancy, you actually have to see someone who has gone through the same situation and who is doing well. And before, so if you have never encountered someone, it's actually maybe it's all the negative from people that, she's pregnant now and she's going to be a single mother. It's not an easy situation. But if you see someone coming up and telling you that I've gone through this and this is how I cope, this is what kept me going, and this is what it also gives you hope. So there are support groups for whatever situation, whatever circumstance that you go through. There are some support groups. It's only that for now I can't say out names, because I don't want to say things that I'm not very sure of, but I will research about the humanitarian organization that cares and that gives the support, necessary support to a person who has decided to keep a pregnancy.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically that's what I can say. And also, besides, after all said and done, you still have your family. You have to find ways of telling your mother, your father, through your aunt. In our culture, you can't just wake up and say, "Mama, I'm pregnant." I'm pregnant. There is this way of saying things. It's either you go through your father's sister. You tell her that this is what I'm going through, and probably this we call it your aunt. Can say, no, my name, let's go to the person who is responsible for the pregnancy. You might try to go, maybe if things are fine, they can accept you, but if they don't, still, the aunt obviously to find a way of saying it to your mother, to your father, and she'll be acting as a counselor like that, because she's actually counseling them, in as much as it's not an easy thing to accept, but eventually she'll accept it. So that's the advice that I would give, that those who get pregnancy, abortion should be the last thing that you think of, because especially in our country where abortion is not allowed, try to talk to people, go to support groups. It's unfortunate that I don't have the names of the support groups, but they're actually support groups. Talk to someone. Don't think about abortion, because if it's not allowed in our country, then if you do it, if you are you might be found on the other side of the law, which is not good. But if it happens, I've told of the post about I've talked about the support groups. That I think I can say about this when a youth get pregnant.
All right. Okay, Chino, thank you so much. Is there something else that you would just like to add before we end?
Yes, the one thing that I'll overemphasize is the treatment of sexually transmitted infections. That to everyone who is listening, I already said it even in the yesterday's. It's very in like especially in our country, it's good that we ask the neighbors, we ask our friends. Even now, because of these social media platforms, a person can just come as an anonymous. She asks, I'm having this type of what I'm having this, I'm having this, and a lot of people are coming in to give different advices. Someone is telling you take this, someone is telling you take this. Let's not come on social media to seek treatment regarding our illnesses. There are no doctors there. Even if there are doctors there, it's not allowed for a doctor to prescribe things on a social media status, on a social media platform. Let's go, let's get examined, let's get a proper treatment. Untreated sexually transmitted infections to ladies, to youth, they can cause ovarian, like cervical cancer, uterine cancers. They can cause us infertility, because if they are not treated at times, you might think that I'm now fine after taking that medication that I just put in the street. Yes, you appear fine, but you don't know the damage that you've done inside. So let's go and get the investigation that needs to be done. Let's go and get treated, get the proper medication, and let's finish whatever medication that we're given. Let's just finish the course. And also, that's what I can say. That's what I can overemphasize, because there are female-dominant STIs and male-dominant STIs. The male-dominant STIs are those sexually transmitted infection that is given to females, but the male will never complain of anything, and the male will never experience anything. But you, as a woman, you might have low abdominal pains. You might have, you might be passing urine that is very painful. Like you might even have foul-smelling discharge, green discharge, yellow discharge, brown discharge. But when you say it to your partner might say, "I'm fine, I don't have any problem. Go and get treated." You go to the clinic, you get treated. The next time after you finish your course, you get you have unprotected sex with your husband. The symptoms recur. You go there. So it's not a matter, whenever you have a false-smelling discharge, it's not a matter about you being treated. It's about you and your partner going for treatment. Even those candidiasis, we are saying they will never affect men. At times men, they might just feel that itchiness, but at times men can resent to go to the clinic. He can just even get advice from his friends. They'll tell you, just apply this, just apply this. But for you women, there's so much discomfort in vaginal candidiasis. It's so itchy. At times it's very, very red. At times it's painful down there. But you go and get the treatment. Yes, they treat you. But the fact that your husband is not being treated, it means the next time that you're going to come to have sex, that thing comes back to you again. But to your partner is fine. So let's get treated for everything. And as I've always said, that every woman knows her own body. You know that this discharge is not normal to me. You know that what I'm going through down there is not normal. So whenever there is a cause of concern, let's seek medical attention. Yeah, that's all I can say.
All right. Thank you so much for educating us on this topic.
You're welcome, Faith. You're welcome.
We really appreciate it. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was Chido with us. I hope you guys have learned a lot from her. She really educated us about this topic, sexual activities, abortion, sicknesses, and so on. I hope you guys take this into account and not take this for granted. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys subscribe to the channel and join me next week. We have a new topic. Like I said, we post every week. So take care, guys, and see you next time. Bye.